Hello everyone, welcome to Sri Chaitanya Academy. So today we have Devesh Agarwal with us, who got All India 123 rank in the general category in ReNeet 2026 exam and Telangana state 8th rank. So congratulations Devesh Agarwal.
Thank you, sir.
Could you explain your 2 years journey in Sri Chaitanya Academy?
So my 2-year journey in Sri Chaitanya Academy was very, very good. I would say it was a very remarkable, and now that I go and look back at it, it was a very beautiful journey in one way or the other. I started in 11th when I first joined here. I did not imagine it would be such a long journey and what all I would have to do to finally be successful in it. But overall, it was a very good journey.
Yeah, you got 691 marks in the ReNeet 2026 exam, and the quality of the paper is very, very good. Basically, I'm a physics faculty. I have seen the physics paper, and how you manage with your physics subject. And I also taken feedback from the chemistry teachers. Some questions, some portion of the paper, chemistry paper is also little tricky, and how you manage this physics and chemistry, please tell, so that it will help those who are preparing for the NEET exam.
Right. So when I sat for the exam in ReNeet, usually start with physics. So the first subject that I had opened in ReNeet was physics itself, and it was obviously very, very difficult. I was not going at an ideal pace that I wanted to, and since it was difficult, unexpected, and much more difficult than we had imagined, it took quite a bit of time to get around physics. But luckily, physics was also my best subject. I was good at physics, but since the subject was tough, I took a larger amount of time for physics, which is why after that I went for biology. Since biology was easy, I quickly recovered most of my time there that I had spent extra on physics and attempted chemistry. Now, chemistry, yes, as you're saying, so there was significantly tricky questions, chemistry here and there. Overall, the paper was medium, but certain questions, they reached a level that it was not expected. I even left some questions, to be very honest. It's not like I did not. But overall, I would say that because our preparation was good and because 2025's paper was also difficult, they prepared us for a level where, something similar to what happened in ReNeet 2026. But unfortunately, it came as a shock because NEET 2026 was, much more easier.
How your teachers played a role getting 691 marks in ReNeet exam, and what role they have played?
So I will be very honest. I'm going to be very thankful to all my teachers. They played a very big part in what I have done in the NEET exam, especially Mukul sir, Prasanna ma'am, and all my biology teachers. So they gave me one-on-one time, something which is not very common. I got one personalized time from them that way, so I could ask them doubts. They were always open. They're ready to answer my doubts at any time during the day. Even if it was late in the night, they were ready to answer my doubts. They were very open. They were very supportive. Tests, whatever test, if I missed a test, they were ready to provide me with the PDFs or with the question paper later. So they accommodated me really well, and they were very helpful across my entire journey.
And now most of the problem students facing is mobile phone.
Right.
So how you cope up with these gadgets? How you managed so that it will help the students whoever is preparing for the competitive exams?
Right.
So how you managed it? And you also tell your routine. What was your routine?
Okay. So for me, I will be very honest. Gadgets, I have a phone right now, but I still don't have any social media on it. WhatsApp is the only thing that I use. So first of all, just avoid social media. That becomes a very, that way it is easier. And also, I think discipline over time beats these addictions. So if you have discipline and if you have self-control, you can overcome this addiction of gadgets. I'm not saying I did not spend any time on my phone. Around half an hour, 45 minutes a day was definitely there. It was something, watch some light comedy or something like that. But yeah, mostly it is just discipline and consistency that you have to, tell yourself that what you're doing right now is wrong. Because it's a very small, just a small tingle that you get to go open your phone and then waste multiple hours at it.
At what time you wake up and at what time you go to bed? What's your schedule?
So I was not a late night study person. I used to wake up early and start studying. So around 5:30 is when I started studying. My first session used to be around 4 hours or something like that, 4 or 5 hours. Around 9:30, 10, I was done with that. I would take a small breakfast break, or it was not a small break. I spend an hour, so take a shower, eat breakfast, you relax for some time, and then start studying again from 11. So 11 to 1 was my second session. After that, I spent again another half an hour, 45 minutes on a lunch break, and then I sat back from around 1:30, 1:45 to 4. This was the next sitting, and usually 4 o'clock is again another break. It is important to take breaks. So 4 to 4:30 I took a break, and then 4:30 to 7:30 was my last session. 7:38 I was almost done. So this was around about my everyday set schedule especially in the last few months of NEET. This was what I was doing every day.
So when I counsel the students, they raise this concern. They are unable to balance these four subjects: botany, zoology, physics, and chemistry.
Right.
So how you managed these four subjects in every day? Because
So
as most of the students are
I
feeling
gave them,
difficult.
madam, I mean, this is a personal thing, but whatever you feel is your weakest subject or something that you're decently good at, according to that, your hours will split. But I dedicated close to 4.5, 5 hours almost maybe to physics, another 3-4 hours to chemistry, and then 3-4 hours to biology. I did not split that as zoology, botany. I was studying mostly as bio itself. Bio is relatively easier, so it took less time to cover both of them. But if you, again, it's all about consistency, not really a big, wonderful, or there's no rocket science or some crazy equation to solve this. But 4 or 5 hours consistently for all of these subjects, and then you will slowly and definitely grasp them.
Could you explain your last 1 month strategy? How you prepared? What was your mindset? Because exam, it is reconducted.
Right.
And how was your mindset? How you cope up any negative thoughts in your mind?
Right. So I'll be very honest. The last 1 month was before NEET. The 1 month was still better than what was before re-NEET. And the decision that NEET is cancelled and re-NEET has to happen, that happened. I was one of those few people who were completely shattered because I had done well in NEET also, and I was finally that feeling, it's done. I'm over NEET. So when re-NEET came by, it was very difficult for me, especially for the first, I would say, 10-15 days. So it took some time to slowly get back to that routine because I completely abandoned it. Immediately after NEET, I was chilling. So re-NEET ke time pe it took around 10 days almost to come back to schedule. But most important thing that you need to do 1 month before NEET is you start giving massive number of tests. So I was averaging maybe 10 tests a week almost. So some of those days were basically I was writing 2 tests a day also. So some days it was 1 test, some days it was 2 tests. Analyzing these tests, what mistakes am I making, what errors am I making.
How you make your error analysis part, that segment? Could you explain?
For me, error analysis usually used to happen on the question paper only. Most people try to write it in a book and everything. I mostly used to do is look at the question, especially if it's biology. I missed a line in the NCERT or my interpretation was wrong. I would go back to the textbook, find out the area where I made the mistake, mark that, and then write mistake made or whatever my correction to at that point was. I used to write it down there. So my NCERT has all these pages with sides messed up. It's all written. That was for this. And physics, chemistry, I usually used to think back and why was I wrong? Why was my approach wrong? So more importantly, that this is the right way of doing it. You need to figure out why you were wrong. Try to answer the question of why you were wrong rather than just finding out the alternate way to be correct. That way you will definitely make more progress. So error analysis usually was right around the side key. This was my mistake because I did this wrong. At this step, I took something else. That was the kind of thing.
How Sri Chaitanya Academy material helped? How this mock exams, revision exams? Okay, when you write your revision exams, mock exams in Sri Chaitanya Academy, what behind that? How you prepared?
So
how it helped you?
Tests are obviously very helpful. Again, I find Sri Chaitanya tests are they were very, very good, especially the offline revision tests on the final test series 1 month before NEET and all were also very good because the frequency was also about right around 3 tests a week or something like that. So those were also very good. And the study material, I did not use it as much for biology, but I think physics, chemistry study material is very good. Questions are also of a very good quality. And the theory is also pretty simplified and kept ready to whenever it's easy to learn or memorize that kind of the way it is mentioned in modules.
I came to know that when I speak to Mukul sir about your exams, when you are taking these mock exams during the re-NEET, he used to tell me very hardly you make few mistakes in physics, chemistry, and biology. Okay, and we just gave tough papers. And when we give tough papers, there are the exams you maintain 600 to 650 average. Then what was the mindset, and what's going on that time in your mind? Because when we
So
raise the standard of the exam, as
actually,
you are scoring nicely,
right. So when the paper difficulty level increases, you automatically decide that make the best use of the bad bargain, right? So if the paper is difficult, you leave some questions, or you try to find a way of optimizing whatever you have in your hand. So I would leave questions aside while attempting the paper, that I'll come back to them later because you seem much more difficult. So to sometimes even just absolutely never answer that question across the entire exam and things like that. But I think a higher difficulty paper also helped us prepare for the final re-NEET, because that paper was surprisingly difficult. And also, even if it was easier, higher level papers make sure that you perform well even the simpler ones, right? So that was also there.
I also got information that Mukul sir used to conduct you JEE main papers when he conducted JEE main papers.
Right.
I mean physics and chemistry.
So I gave the previous year JEE mains
Mm.
paper. So few of them I was giving, because again that was the whole point. When 2025 paper was out, physics, chemistry were difficult, and they were like, this is JEE mains ka level and
Yeah.
everything. So to get used to that idea of difficult physics and chemistry, I started practicing JEE mains ka PYQs and papers. I was doing this around a few months before NEET. So 3-4 months before NEET, when JEE actually is happening, mock tests are going on. So every now and then one mock test I used to attempt for JEE also.
So one piece of advice, if you want to give it to the NEET aspirants, what advice you want to give it to them?
I would say that consistency and discipline are the only things that can help you get successful in this exam. It is a long marathon, and that is why you have to consistently put small efforts. They will pool up slowly, and then you will realize that you have become successful in the exam. It is never during the process you don't realize, or you don't feel like, yeah, I'm doing great. You always think that there's something better to be done, something less to be done. But if you consistently and with discipline keep putting efforts, the end result is always satisfactory.
When you entered into the exam, when you receive your question paper, what was your mindset, and what's lingering in your mind the moment you open the question paper, the moment you started with physics? Because many students they feel physics is the toughest part.
Correct.
For the NEET students,
Right.
but you started with physics.
Right. Yes.
Then what was your, I mean, what's going on in your mind in the
Okay,
exam hall?
yeah.
Please
So,
tell
so
us.
this I built the strategy last few months, where I decided I start with physics. I always started with biology initially, but over the last few months of my preparation, I realized my physics was my best subject. So that's why play to your strength kind of thing. So that's why I started physics. The same thing I did with ReNEET 2026. I started with the physics paper. Now, while I was going around the physics paper, I was
Confident.
yeah, not actually not very confident. My anxiety started increasing by the time I came to the end of physics, because I was not expecting I'd have like 7-8 questions which I have not yet solved and things like that. Overall it was okay, but I would say that starting with physics was a good decision, because again my physics was my best subject. But I would say that while writing the paper, my mindset was, starting the paper, it was to be done with it, because re-NEET happened. It was 2 months almost of time that I thought I would get to be free, because NEET was already done. But so that is why re-NEET ke paper ke time pe I was thinking of just finishing this paper, doing good with it, and then finally putting a full stop to NEET.
How you categorized your time? For physics, how much you spent? Chemistry, how much you spent? Biology, how much you spent? Any
I don't exactly remember the details, but I'm pretty sure I crossed almost more than an hour for my physics in re-NEET. An hour, or maybe 1 hour, 20 minutes or so I spent on physics, 45 minutes on biology, and close to an hour in chemistry. But this is all approximations. I'm not sure of the exact numbers.
Thank you, Devesh Agarwal. Thank you. Congratulations once
Thank you,
again.
thank you so
Okay.
much.
All the
Yeah,
best.
Thank you.
Okay.
Thank you.